ready. Sherry, I'm going to pass it to you.
Hello, welcome to TL News Night. We bring you the latest in library news each month. Tonight, February 16th, we are so glad to be with you. We know a lot of you are experiencing some snow, and we've already heard about some of our friends without power, so shout out to our Maryland friends. Tonight, we are very excited to have Iowa Association of School Librarians with us. And before we get started with our guests, we'd like to tell you just a little bit about TL News Night and why it is we bring you the latest in library news each month. One of the reasons is, let's go to the next slide, please.
Okay.
Our official hashtag. We're going to be following along with you tonight on Twitter, TL Chat. I had someone ask me a couple weeks ago about which hashtag or which Twitter chat I like to participate in. And I said, well, it's always hashtag TL Chat because we say it's a 24/7 hashtag. But tonight we want you to use it to tweet out questions to us. If you have questions for our guests and things that you'd like for us to ask while we're on air. And also, why in the world are we as librarians bringing you the news? I'm clicking to bring up Nikki's slides. Here we go. Well, we feel like the news isn't always a positive one in the library world or even in education. And so we want to bring you all the great things that we know are happening across the country. Each month we feature a different librarian association, and we've actually been international. We have a map that you're probably not seeing at this point, but there is the opportunity to sign up to be a guest on the show for us. And so you can visit TL.
And I think we're losing Sherry. So, as she was saying, if you just type in TL News Night, you can get to our wiki, and there is a Google form there. Let us know if your state library association would like to be a guest on air. Also, if you have any questions or you want to be a substitute for our anchors when our anchors can't make it because they have other things. Look at all of our great superstars. We need to go ahead and add to this list Iowa, and we'll get that star up there soon. And so become part of our TL News Night Superstars and share what you're doing in your state for school libraries. Tonight we're excited to have the Iowa Association of School Librarians on this evening to talk about a student-centered vision. I cannot speak tonight. And so we're going to hope Sherry can come back on in just a minute, but you know, with all these weather changes, things do happen. We're also, let's go ahead and introduce who we are. I'm Nikki Robertson. I'm in Alabama, in Huntsville, Alabama, and work with the Alabama School Library Association. We have a brand new member of our TL News Night team from the West Coast, California, Miss Jane Lofton. Jane, tell us a little bit about yourself so the audience, if they don't know who you are, can know a little bit more about you and that you're a great addition to our team here.
Well, thanks for the great welcome. I'm really excited to be joining the team. I am Jane Lofton, and I'm the teacher librarian at Maricosta High School in Manhattan Beach, California. It's in the South Bay, right near Los Angeles International Airport. It's a school with 2,400 students, and I'm the staff person.
Wow. That's a big school.
But I love my work. I also love working with California School Library Association. I was the 2012-13 president of CSLA and continue to be active in the association. And I'm a conference junkie, and I get to every conference I can.
And California has already been a guest on TL News Night, so we're very grateful to that. So, Sherry, tell us, are you there? Can we hear you yet, Sherry? All right, Sherry must be having difficulty. I'm going to pass over to Joyce, who is substituting tonight for Shannon Miller, who is stuck with weather in Chicago and has come on last minute. Joyce, for those who don't know you, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Nikki. I'm Joyce Valenza. I'm in the Philadelphia suburbs, and I am the MLIS director and an assistant professor at Rutgers University. Shannon had some serious plane issues on her way to Kansas from Denver to Chicago, and I don't even remember how, but she had to rent a car. She's on a 5 or 8 hour drive right now, and she sends her regrets. It would have been delighted to introduce her colleagues from Iowa, and especially delighted to introduce our very special guest, Ian, for whom she has sent her deepest regrets and highest regards. And also, I want to congratulate Jane. I heard that the California conference really rocked. So that's who I am, and happy to be here.
Wonderful. We love everything you're doing to get future librarians ready to enter into our schools and be the librarians they need to be. Alyssa?
Hello, everybody. I'm Alyssa Malaspina. I am the supervisor of educational technology and librarians from, I teach in the Parsippany Troy Hill School District in New Jersey, but I am from South Orange, New Jersey. So I am coming to you from balmy South Orange, New Jersey, where it was about 1 degree last night with a wind chill of -20.
Right.
So it's lovely out right now, but you know, we had off today, so I haven't really had to been outside much.
And so, Alyssa, the question is that Barbara Walters would ask is, where do you keep your Bammy?
My Bammy.
Can you take it to us?
I will bring it home one day and show it to you if you want. It's in my office.
Okay.
And it's in the basement of the building in my office at school, so nobody ever sees it because nobody ever knows where my office is.
All right, thank you, Alyssa. And Sherry, you're back on, and tell us
to
a
be
little who you are,
memorable, you know.
right? And a little bit about yourself.
I like to drop in and out of the call as many times as possible. So I'm actually on my phone at this point, so we'll see how that works out for us tonight. I'm Sherry Gick. I'm coming to you from Indiana, Rossville, Indiana. I'm a library and instructional technology specialist, K through 12.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. And Sue Levine from Atlanta is not with us tonight. She's really sick, and if I know anything around the South and around this area, we've been having the flu and a stomach bug and strep throat and just lots of different sicknesses running around, so we hope that she gets better well soon. So, Joyce, since you're filling in for Shannon, I'm going to let you have the honors of introducing our wonderful guest for this month and kicking off our topic.
Thank you very much, Nikki. I think I'm unmuted now. Yes.
Yes.
It's a delight, and it's especially a delight because of the topic we're going to be approaching tonight. And the topic is our Iowa school librarians, and we're talking about a student-centered vision, and we're lucky that we have a student with us. And so I think the tradition is that I introduce the first guest, and she introduces herself and pushes it on to the next guest. So I think I am going to introduce Dixie Forch, our IASL president. Please forgive me if I didn't say your name correctly. Dixie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, I'm Dixie Forch, and I am the president of IASL. I just took over in January, and I am the K-12 teacher librarian and media integrationist for the South Tama County Schools. I really work with just 5th through 12th grade, so I manage 2 buildings. And after I finish talking, I'm going to introduce you to our former president and now the chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee, Christine Sturgeon. But if we can get the slides up, is that what we're going to do next? I think so. So, I am, once again, you can tweet me at Dixie Forch if you want to follow me on Twitter. I don't tweet a lot, but I do follow the board. So the next slide that we have up is just to show you where Iowa is in the layout of the country. So we're not Idaho and we're not Ohio. And given that I am from Texas originally, It was a revelation to find out where we are in the middle of the Midwest. So we are one of those states that starts and ends with a vowel, but that's about it. We grow corn, not potatoes. But we also spend a lot of time working and doing what's best for kids. And so what I wanted to push as my goals for leadership for you can go to the next slide, thanks, for this year, and is just continuing some of what Christine had started when she was president, and then to follow through in support of our legislative efforts. We are trying very hard to see that every school in Iowa gets one librarian in every building, if at all possible. So we've had some changes in Iowa, and we've lost our librarians. And so we want to make sure that we get it back to where we can serve all of Iowa's students, and we do more than just shelf books, and we're trying to make that clear to our legislators. And so to that end, we're trying to support all the teacher librarians as they work to enact our vision. We are a division of the Iowa Library Association, but we specifically serve the school librarians, teacher librarians in the state of Iowa. And so we've been really trying to help our teacher librarians so that they can be recognized better for the work that they're doing and be supported by their administrators and others in the field. We also are trying to continue to deal with challenges presented to our members who are working in multiple buildings or being shared between districts. Iowa has a lot of rural districts, and we're spread out pretty far, and so that makes it very difficult to serve all of our students when many of our librarians have to work for 2 districts, and when they're doing that, they seem to have to go to they go to one building and they're there for a day, and they go to the next building and they're there for a day, and the next building, and so they don't really have the opportunity to build the kind of relationships that they need to with students or with their with the faculty members and the administrators, so that they can build the kind of programs that we want to see for students in Iowa, particularly to support the fact that there is a government mandate that we have school library programs in Iowa, and we need to teach students, integrate technology, build the communities of learners that we have, collaborate with our peers and our partners, and provide our students with access to quality materials. And it gets really difficult to do that when you're serving multiple buildings and multiple groups of students. So that's one of my focuses, is to try and make sure that we get all of that done. And then the other thing that I worry about is that because we are so infrequently in our buildings, many of our librarians, that we have a lot of support staff that work with us, but that when we can't, when we have difficulties working with that support staff because they've decided that it's that they're more important than we are, or they're there more often than we are, it becomes difficult. So paraeducators, working with them is a big motivation to make sure that everyone's included in the conversation, and that those individuals are not mistaken for the librarians, but at the same time respected for the work that they do while they're in the libraries. I think that was all my goals on the leadership thing. Oh, and developing partnerships to support our efforts. I did want to talk about some partnerships that we've been reaching out to make. We recently talked with the members of the Iowa Reading Research Center. There's a new push in Iowa from the governor to work with early childhood through 6th graders in developing their literacy. And so we wanted to reach out for them to make sure that they would include librarians in their boards and discussions, and we've successfully gotten one of our members to be on their board to discuss the further efforts that they're going through. And we're working with our area education agencies as well as the Iowa State Education Agency to make sure that librarians, teacher librarians, are continuing to be represented. One of the things that we're really proud of, though, is the fact that we support literacy in Iowa through our book awards. And so these are the 4 major book awards that we have that we make sure that go out every year. We have nominees in each category. The Goldfinch Awards are for kindergarten through 2nd graders, mostly picture books. The Iowa Children's Choice Awards are for students in grades 3 through 6, and they include everything from picture books to short chapter books. Then we have the Iowa Teen Awards. Those are aimed at the tween category, really, the 6th through 9th graders, and then the high school awards for 9 through 12. And we allow voting. The voting windows just opened, actually, and in April at our conference, it'll close on March 30th, and at our conference in April, we'll announce the winners, and we're hoping to Skype in some of the winners of those contests, or at least be able to really showcase the winners of the book winners there. For those of you curious about all of the things that we're doing in Iowa, we have a link to our website here, or just the Iowa address is at www.iasl-ia-for-iowa.org. Like I said, we are underneath the Iowa Library Association, so you can find us there, and if you log on to our website, you can find links to our state awards and many of the activities that we're up to. So moving on to the next slide, we want all of the people in Iowa who might be watching to know that we need you to get involved and join us. This was last year at our conference, and many of the people that you see in this photograph, including me right there in the middle, are all members of the leadership for the Iowa Association of School Librarians, but there's always room for more. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Christine Sturgeon. She is our former president, and she's going to introduce herself and her role in governmental affairs.
Hi, yes, I'm Christine Sturgeon, and I'm a teacher librarian, technology integrationist, K-12, at Manson Northwest Webster Schools in rural Iowa. And as Dixie said, I'm the past president of IASL, and really I started with that just because I once heard Shannon and Kathy on Twitter talking about a meeting they were going to, and I said, hey, I want to go to that meeting, and they said, oh, it's for board members, and I was like, well, how do I get on the board? So there you go. That's how I did it. And now I'm the Governmental Affairs Committee Chairman for the Iowa Library Association. I found that I really like doing legislative work and working with down at the Capitol and that sort of thing. It's last year, so I've added that to my plate. So I guess you can start the next slide.
Okay, Christine, I'll bring those up.
Sure.
So I'm going to come over and bring that up real quick.
There you go.
I love this picture of you guys. It's too cute.
Is that great?
Yes. All right, here we go. There's all about Christine. And make sure that you hit Christine up on Twitter at C_Sturgeon.
Yes, please do. I do tweet quite a bit, actually.
You do.
In 2013, HF 472 passed at the state capitol, and it added teacher librarians to the operational functions list. So it put us akin to transportation directors or facility managers. And we were actually, next slide, very surprised by this when it happened, and we didn't know it was happening until the governor himself signed it.
Wow.
So the next slide. When we did hear about it, we weren't very happy, and we had to backtrack and be like, what is this even about? And what HF 472 did, as I said, it put us on the operational functions list, but doing that made it that school districts got paid extra money if they shared us across districts. So instead of a student counting as a multiplier of 1, he or she would count as 1.02. And there was a money limit to that, but even at a very small district, that really added up. And school districts left and right started sharing librarians that had not done so before. Next slide. Just like in many states, Iowa librarians are often spread very thin. Districts in Iowa that share such positions are typically small in student numbers, but very large in geography. This is a map of from the census of the Iowa's school districts in 2010, which now total 149 in 99 counties. So one district might span a huge geographic area, but not really have that many students. We'd have 2 or more elementaries with a junior high and a senior high, sometimes in even 3 or 4 different locations, and then one librarian for all of that. And we don't have the problems that some of you have, most of us don't, with the very huge student numbers, but we have so many miles to go and such divided responsibilities. I know last year I was also a tag teacher at the high school, and so that is not well, what's the word I want? It's typical of that kind of split responsibilities. So the next slide. In the first year of implementation of HF 472, it blew projections out of the water. It was 4 times the cost estimates of what they anticipated the bill would be. We weren't the only ones added to the operational functions list. It also was guidance counselors and school nurses. And so we were very unhappy about that as well. But we knew, because it cost so much extra money than they had anticipated, we knew the bill would have to change. And so we did need off that operational functions list. Next slide. So with our ILA lobbyists and the help of teacher, public, and academic librarians across the state, we successfully lobbied and just hit them up with phone calls and emails and visits. We have coming up next week is our Lobby from Home Day, actually Lobby from Home Days. It's going to be 2 of them. And this year I'm particularly asking our librarians and the academic and public librarians as well to have their patrons contact our legislators, because as important it is for us to send the message to them, what I really need is, I have a high school parent who just is really pleased with the work I've done with her son in teaching Genius Hour and some other things like that have really impacted his education. And so I think it's much more powerful for myself, for her to contact the legislators, than for me to do it myself, because of course I could be trying to protect my job, which is a good thing, but it can be a more powerful message that way. And so I even was published on the AASL blog right there, so I was pretty excited about that. And in that, I mean, one thing that I say is that there are some schools that shared librarians in just in impossible situations. One of the legislators at the State House said the reason for this operational function bill was try to get people to school districts that should be thinking about sharing to combine, to formally combine. But that's not what happened. I knew of a school that had about 2,000 students, which is quite large for Iowa, and they shared with a larger district. So not only did the students and the teachers not know this librarian, but not even really her paras knew her very well, because she just wasn't there very often. So the first step, next slide please, to keep teacher librarians off the operational functions list for good is part of our ILA legislative agenda. You can change it. Oh, it's so cool. I was so excited when I was on the AASL blog. But is part of our legislative agenda, and you can see that it says recognize and stipulate in all official documents that teacher librarians are instructional staff as defined by the Department of Education. And I know that's not sexy. It doesn't print on a t-shirt really easily and all of that. But in order to get to one librarian per building, we have to we have to make sure that we're never seen as an operational function again. I mean, that is ridiculous. We impact students. But when the state was sending the message, not even a year ago, that, oh, we'll give you extra money when you share this position. And thankfully, school nurses, they were able to get off the operational function list as well, but guidance counselors were not. And we put that wholeheartedly to the effective lobbying that we're able to have with the help of the Iowa Library Association lobbyists at the Capitol. And so anyway, that's a big part of it. If you switch the slide, we have, with my GAC committee, Governmental Affairs Committee, we've created a CQ Engage website, and all state organizations, library associations, my understanding, can get one of those. That comes from the American Library Association. We have someone on GAC who works with them. So We know it's a big goal. We have other goals, you know, of course, to protect public libraries and all of that. But I think our voice, the big first step is for our legislators to know who we are. Turn the slide. So this is me last year with my legislator, Daryl Beal, and he was a strong supporter of school libraries, but he was, you know, so when HF 472 happened, he voted for it, and he said, I didn't know anybody would be against it. And I said, you didn't know people would be against giving, we would be against giving extra money when you shared librarians across districts. And I know it gets kind of wonky, but even he, as a huge supporter of libraries, didn't know it. And so then it got to the point where it's like, you know, well, now when a library issue comes up, I know who to call. And so that's what we're really trying to accomplish. And the work of GAC, and especially Chelsea Sims, teacher librarian in Iowa City, who's the advocacy chair of IASL. You can switch the slide, please. And she's a new member of the ILA executive board, comes in. And she's also active on Twitter. She wasn't able to be here tonight, so I'm going to do her slides really quick. You can see at Ms. Sims ICCSD. And she is such a voice on both IASL and ILA. We really appreciate having her. Next slide, please. And this is our blog. Dixie gave the address out, and this is done by one of our board members, and is really a great place to for anybody. I mean, I think you all should follow it, no matter what state you're in, and for ideas about how to get the message out. For any number of, I mean, certainly not just advocacy and that, but for literacy ideas, for programming ideas, all of that. And it's been a great place to keep our members and non-members informed on topics of interest to teacher librarians in our communities. Connected with our other social media sites, of course, Facebook and Twitter, it's a central location for both news items and more permanent content that we have there. Next. 2 years ago, a state task force commissioned by the Iowa Department of Education worked to develop an updated vision for Iowa school librarians, which is so ironic. Again, that was 2 years ago, and they had this whole thing, and many of us, I know I did, I know Kathy did, Chelsea did, we made videos about the things that we do, and we each had, you know, one of those. I did nurture curiosity, to develop in children a passion for learning for life. And the DE puts out that message, and yet, with their other side of their mouth, hey, I'll give you extra money when you share this position. So it was just really crazy. Chelsea is quite the graphic artist, though, and so she's made some things like this. We made these as postcards. We've sent them to legislators. We give them to members to get out to their administrators and all that. So that's part of it, you know, having that message. Next slide.
I love this slide, by the way. This is really great.
Yeah, and it's available on our website, of course, and she's willing to use that.
Awesome.
And we've used our vision statement to develop 2 videos explaining the complex roles of the teacher librarian. One video focuses on the audience of school administrators and explains our role, the vision, and what an administrator should expect from a modern teacher librarian. And then another shorter video was created for teachers as both an explanation of what we do and an advertisement for what we teach and the resources and support we can give in the classroom. We hope these videos can be shared with pre-service teachers and administrators as they enter the field, but also for current educators. And, you know, that's the thing when we have student teachers in our building often, and I make sure I always give them access to that and tell them, because, you know, they may not land in a school that has a Kathy Kaldenberg or a Shannon Miller, you know, or a Dave Fort. That just might not happen. And so to really get that message out of what they should expect. Next. And then our state lobbyists suggested that we contact legislators, and as well as I have, and we have both anecdotes and data to support our arguments. One approach we have used to collect both is creating a shared Google map on which teacher librarians are invited to post information about their district. And so they did, Chelsea along with Susan, Kathy, you'd have to help me, Feuerbach, I don't know, Susan F. They did a lot of work with compiling data, and it actually was kind of sad what the staffing results were. But then finally, next for Chelsea, this was published in today's Iowa City Press Citizen, and I urge all of you to go to that link, look it up, and check it out, because I think it's probably the case in any number of states, you know, I mean, where we're all spread so thin and asked so much of us, and she just does such a nice job of explaining the situation, and I'm going to myself spread that far and wide, get it to all my legislators and my Twitter people and my administrators. So we certainly have a dynamic person on the board with that, but more importantly than that, I think, is the dynamic message we have working together, you know, networking with people like all of you nationwide, and sending that message about the importance of school librarians. And I know, I mean, actually, Joyce, in when I first started, we had a professional development, and you know, my superintendent, he sends out, you had something from the Philadelphia Examiner like in 2003 or some such. It was a long time ago, and it was like, here, I want everybody to read this. Kind of funny, because often he sends things out like that, and then it'll be, you know, from Dr. Dunham, Dean Dunham, or somebody else. I'm like, you know, they're librarians, right? He really likes that message. Anyway, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. There's so much that you were talking about that I have questions about, and I'm sure some other people do as well. One thing you pointed out was the importance of establishing that relationship with your legislators. So tell us, what do you do as an organization to help encourage that, and how can other states do the same?
Well, I think messaging is important. We have, you know, the physical things like that. This week, now next week, we do have Lobby from Home Days. We're doing that. We've sent out materials for them to make little bookmarks with their information to give out to patrons, and reminders for themselves to contact them. We also this week are sending out, I'm working with the lobbyists and then the ILA president, Duncan Stewart, and sending out bullet points of what message we want to go out to them. I think really more important than any message, because it's still pretty early in the legislative session, and you just don't know what's going to pop up. You know, last year there was a bill that popped up that would have forced public librarians to give out teenagers, children's library records and such when the parents or guardians asked for it. And it was like, I got that in front of my government teachers, and it was like, you know, you kids, you need to go talk to them. Right. But so those things do pop up quickly that are bullet points right now, might not be what we end up with at the end. But people do want to have that, you know, but I think more importantly than that, you know, I mean, I was at a chili supper and met our new legislator, and sat down with him, and you know, just by chance, and he's like, well, here's my card, contact me, and yeah, if any library stuff comes up, they want you know, to have, I mean, they want to put us in their newsletters. You know, it looks good for them to do that, and I think just reaching out personally at IASL conference, which is coming up in April, and Kathy is spearheading that. I'm doing a, what's it called, Kathy? Lightning talk. And it's the whole idea is superheroes. So it's like you know, how to kick butt and take names at the state capitol. It's something like that, and it's hopefully with our lobbyists. I don't know if they can make it, because that'll be right in funnel week. But you know, getting that message out too. It's just, I mean, I know it's kind of scary sometimes to talk, and who's gonna want to hear about it, you know, and just a librarian and all that, but my goodness, they want to hear from us. They really do, the legislators. It's just getting and making that email and all of that. I think
Christine, I have to interrupt, because we don't ever want to be just a librarian. I mean, that's been a really big thing in my state of Indiana, as far as anybody's watching knows exactly what I'm thinking at this moment. So a librarian is never just, right?
Right.
You've already talked about as far as the things that you're doing and the people that you're talking to, and so librarians are awesome, right? That's what we're here to talk about tonight. So just a librarian. Let's just cut that part.
You're right. Thank you.
Librarian, yes.
And all these slides you've been seeing tonight will be available on the wiki, on the TL Newsnight wiki at the end of this. So, Christine, I love the fact that your legislator said, I didn't know who to contact, now I have someone to contact. And so we need to make sure that our legislators have that contact in every single state so that when something does come across the desk that maybe we don't know about, that they say, oh, this is libraries. Before I vote on this one way or another, let me talk to somebody who has experience in this and who knows what's happening and can give me some insight as to what I should do here. Now, I noticed, and I'm not sure what order you're going in, but I noticed we have some other guests from Iowa. We have the wonderful Kathy, who I love. And then I see Ian down here. Are we ready to move to them, or did you want to tell us about Ian and Kathy, or what do we want to do next?
Oh, okay. Well, I will introduce you to Kathy Kaldenberg, who is teacher librarian at Solon Community School District, which is actually a pretty large school in Iowa, but she is the lone wolf there, K-12, in several buildings. Wow. And I met Kathy a few years ago at IASL conference when I needed reading glasses, and I went up and asked her for some.
You said K-12. You said K-12 in several buildings, Kathy?
Yeah. 3 buildings, K-12.
Oh,
3, wow.
They are 5 minutes apart, so that makes it easier. But yeah, I wear comfortable shoes, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm the conference chair and also professional development chair. And so what I do is most of the conference. So our conference is actually pretty new because our ISL split off from another organization just about 8 years ago. So this will be like our 6th conference. So it's not huge. I know you guys talked about Texas and California. We had about 200 people at our conference last year. So it's not huge, but it's really, really important for our members because it is the one totally focused conference for teacher librarians in Iowa. And this year we're going to have for our keynote Jennifer Lagarde, who I know you shout out for. And like I said, the theme is superheroes. And so if you want to just go through my slides, I'll go through this really fast. Last year we had Al November. Year before that we had Buffy Hamilton. So we've really been blessed with having some great people to inspire us. And we're really excited about this next conference coming up. Just FYI, we do use some more for our ads, so that works out really good. If you just want to go to the next slide.
More is awesome. It's a great way to advertise.
This just represents, as people sign up, I have a Google map going so I can see where people are coming from. It's just really interesting to see the demographics of our attendees and how they're represented through the state. So you can move to the next slide. And superhero theme, we're asking people to use PicMonkey to do their own little superhero posters, and that's been a lot of fun.
That's so cute.
Next slide. And this is something that we really enjoyed doing together as a group, is have a Pinterest page for Iowa School Libraries Making a Difference. So we have, I don't know, a number of us, all the executive board members and a few others that are pinners, and anybody can be a pinner. When you see something awesome that happens in Iowa in school libraries, you pin it. So then if you have to give an example to a legislator or to a parent or say, hey, look what this other school's doing, and they're just right down the road, it's just a really easy and quick place to look. You can go to the next slide.
That's an excellent idea.
Have another one called Iowa School Libraries and Media Centers, and this is more of a design stuff. So if you are remodeling or thinking about doing a new building, who's local, take a look at some pictures and see where you might go visit. Next slide. And then also try to keep track of who's blogging. And so this is all the various Iowa teacher librarians are blogging in the state. On Pinterest, very easy to do. Next slide. And then another thing that I've done is the Iowa School Library's websites, and I think we have over 150 sites linked here on a squirrel page. And Joyce introduced me to squirrel. Thank you, Joyce. And we've got the pro version, so there's no ads. And it's, you know, if you, so many people just want to know how to redesign their websites, and this is just an easy way to see what's happening locally in our state. Next slide. And then just to shout out that Twitter's really important. I started doing Twitter, I don't know, 2011, and again, Shannon Miller's name will come up. She introduced me to, and she's the one who started the IOTL hashtag, and I follow it religiously, look at it many times a day, and I think that we do have followers outside our state. And now a new one is Iowa EdChat, which is a lot of it admins. So when you combine that IOTL hashtag and Iowa EdChat, you can really get some mileage out of your tweets. So we use that a lot too.
And as an aside, with that Iowa EdChat, as a librarian, because this is more of a librarian audience, don't not be in the conversation because you are, say, just the librarian. You should be in that Iowa EdChat or in that SAT chat offering your views as librarians, because people don't always understand what we as librarians do, especially administrators. So get into those that are, you know, more admin chats, because you really make an impact in those type of chats.
I agree 100% with Alyssa. I'm glad that you brought that up too, Kathy.
Yeah.
Besides you blowing my mind, and I'm about to run back to my association with all your ideas and steal completely from you. My mind is boggled, but I'm very glad you brought that up about the state ed chats. There are a lot of state ed chats, and we need to make sure that we're jumping right in there as librarians and saying, hey, we have a voice, we know what's going on in these schools. We're important to student success in school, so I'm so glad you brought that up.
And not only our voice, but I think, as we're talking about tonight, we speak for students, and so it's really important that we share that.
Exactly.
Well, I can't wait to hear from Ian. He's next.
Yay, Ian!
Oh, I met Ian the first time at a conference when he presented. I don't know if you remember this, Ian, at iTech. That was probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Like back in Iowa City?
Yes, and you are just working it now. It's so fun to see how you
That was
grow.
4 or 5 years ago. My goodness, that's when I met Angela Myers and Shannon Miller for the first time too.
Yeah. So here he is.
Hi. Well, thanks for inviting me again tonight. I'm Ian Coon, and I am a junior at Waukee High School, along with a student co-founder of the Iowa Student Learning Institute. So within our state, we are trying to revolutionize education through student voice. That's our mission of the organization. By doing that, we've had 2 conferences so far in our 2 years of existence. Have done lots and lots of speaking at schools and education agencies. We have a group of ESL students and working with the Title III ELO director at the Department of Ed to make sure that all of Iowa's diverse learners' voices are heard. So that is an amazing thing that we've been doing lately. And our next steps within the next month or 2 here is hosting 3 student ed camps within our state, which should be some of the first across the nation, I hear.
Okay, that's awesome. I have to.
I know. I was just like, oh my God, that is awesome.
4 students by students.
4 students by students. Just, I mean, like, woo! I love that so much.
Go,
Yes,
Ian.
that is amazing.
Go, Ian.
Along with a rally at the state capitol too, to share with our legislators and take not only student voice, but then turn it into a student agency and student action that accomplishes goals.
Yay, Ian!
Yeah. So thanks for Christine with all her governmental help and being able to work on that committee as well. So I don't know where my slides went.
All right, here, I'm bringing the slides up for you again.
So Ian, while we're waiting, tell us you're doing 3 ed camps in different parts of the state?
Yep,
or?
yep. So there'll be like 3 different satellite locations, one kind of in the central, one west, and one east. and I think they're looking 40 to 75-ish kids at each location.
I
love
was
this.
blowing my
So
mind.
that's
I
great.
know they are.
Yeah, along with like the other two conferences we've had that are more like traditional type conferences with keynoters.
Oh
that
my
have had, like,
God,
200.
I love you guys.
Right? I'm moving to Iowa.
I am too.
Yeah, so it's great.
Except for the fact that there's only one librarian per,
Big.
like, you know, a gazillion people, I'd be totally there.
And it
3
snows half the year.
Come to our conference. Ian is doing our luncheon keynote. So
I heard that. Shannon was telling me about that today when she called me. She was like, Ian's doing the keynote. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, so you guys get a sneak peek. If you can do the next slide, there's a quote. I was able to talk at another conference along with Shannon and some other students from another school in our state, and his ending challenge was to not challenge students but give them the opportunity to challenge themselves, and I think that fits amazingly with the role of librarians. So not pushing reading materials but being able to offer services to connect students to books, sure, if that's what it is, but also online databases, magazines, blogs, chats, like we're doing right now, and have the network, if you can go to the next one, to be able to find and explore student passion. So that's just the Twitter map of my own Twitter account with 1,100 followers, which is nothing nowadays on Twitter. Yeah, so, and then being able to take that next part then to have tools within your library that once you can network and find connections to explore student passions to make them actually do something with it. That's the next part of student voice that we tend to have started to call student agency. So have them make a blog, make a Facebook page, sign a petition online, go to meetings, host events, things like that. So if your government class wants to talk about school start dates, take them to the Capitol, get them to meet people, have them talk to people. Nothing's going to happen just complaining in their classrooms. You have to get them out of their brick and mortar walls for
Active
actual action to
citizenry.
happen. Yep. The role of students isn't to sit in a row of desks anymore. Not at all. And then also another part that really kind of started me into this student voice and student agency was my middle school librarian. You can kind of see her pregnant and crawling across a ladder to paint the library here. And so really being able that she allowed students to decorate and make the library their own, because it's essentially their school living room for 7 hours a day. So you have to make it comfortable and make them want to be there before you can start telling them to blog and go on the internet and talk to strangers. So there's that, and then we also reorganized the subject base so that students could find books and resources easier. So that was a tool that got utilized a lot more often. And then hosting a student technology group was another way that to connect students' skills so that they can share that with other students and teachers in their building of how to be like a secondary librarian to network and help others. So I see libraries as the future of where student agency and student voice come together to mix with the world outside.
How amazing are you? Okay, we just need to bring you to every state and have
I know. Can you, like, come to every state and talk? Like, you are doing amazing things, and I wish more kids were like you.
Yep, had a lot of great support with my district, so that's amazing.
That's wonderful. How do you see what's happening with what Christine and Dixie and Kathy have been talking about, where you have that one librarian that's trying to jaunt between 3 different schools and handle K through 12 in 3 different schools? How's that affecting students in your viewpoint?
So I actually didn't know about any of the HR 472 until Christine shared with me about a month ago when we met up at the mall, actually. But I live in a larger district of almost 8,000 kids now. I think we have 10 or 11 buildings with a school librarian in each one of them, so we are not on that list that has to share or anything like that, but I have seen it like in other districts, obviously, that Christine's one of them, and Kathy and Shannon used to be before this past year. working in K-12 settings. Yeah,
Right. Well, I
I'm in a
can
very good
imagine
district.
that. Yeah, I can imagine that part of the reason you're so involved is because you do have that librarian, that full-time
Hmm.
librarian in the school
Definitely.
with you to help encourage and connect you and make those important connections. That is awesome. Well, we
Hmm.
have about 10 minutes left. I love everything you're saying, and I don't want you to stop talking. But we're going to go into a little bit of library news, and I think, who is it? Sherry, were you going to do the about the TL Virtual Cafe where the wonderful Tiffany Whitehead presented this past month?
Absolutely. I can just give you just a quick synopsis. If you weren't able to join us at our webinar this month, you can access the archive at tlvirtualcafewikispaces.com, and you'll find the link to Tiffany's Ditching Dewey presentation. And you guys know genreification is one of my passions as well. So Tiffany made some great points on Monday about this, and I'm kind of switching through. Her slides are there, and one of the biggest things I think that we want to emphasize and that Tiffany always likes to share is a genreified library is a student-centered library. So we no longer want it to be a library where only the librarians know where to find things and being the keeper of this. We want knowledge and access for students to be able to run in and grab exactly what they need and be able to show their friends where to find it. And so genreification is definitely student-centered and making it easier browsing for them and for teachers as well. One of the coolest things I think as we talk about Ditching Dewey is the ability to group some nonfiction and fiction together and get some crossover in our readers. And so looking at maybe your sports biographies and things like that sitting right next to your sports fiction where they're not on opposite sides of the room and your readers don't even realize that they might enjoy browsing some of those different genres. Genreification, this for libraries, as far as it can be met to meet the needs of your library and your collection and your readers. It's not the same in every library because it's for your students, so a big point. It also, one of the best things that I know is when I genreified and when Tiffany genreified, you handle every piece in your collection. It's a great time to weed and a great time to see where your gaps are as far as what you need to update and enhance for your students. So make sure you check out Tiffany's the archive because you can hear her wonderful voice and all her awesome comments that she made during the presentation as well.
And Sherry, did you pick up on the fact that Ian was talking about how they did that in their library and how it made it a lot easier for them to find books and find books they need?
I think the turnoff is that it takes years sometimes to do if you have a larger collection. And she had parent volunteers and herself and me to help in it. I think it was a year and a half before just nonfiction was done.
Student volunteers are a great resource as far as I definitely use that in my library as well, and I know Tiffany did in her library. So
when I did mine in that like week and a half where I did my fiction area, I tell them here, don't ever do that. But yes. I used student volunteers, and they were really helpful in the process.
And that's another good resource. Yeah, definitely check out Alyssa's blog because the day-by-day blogging of her experience is worth reading about for sure.
You liked where I was like in the beginning I was happy and by the end I was like, what have I done wrong? Am I not?
It's definitely a good thing. It's a lot of work. Let's not, Tiffany tells you that too. It's a lot of work, but it is completely worth it. You will never regret genreifying your library.
I agree with you.
But it should make you all feel good that Ian has said in the end, all that blood, sweat, and tears is worth it for the kids, and that's what it's about. So Jane is going to do a recap of the TL chat, Twitter chat that happened last Monday.
Yeah, last Monday, Nikki and I co-hosted the TL chat, and with a subject near and dear to my heart, how can we optimize the library as a place where we can help students learn what they want to learn? We had a lively chat with, I checked 611 tweets, and we discussed not just what we can do ourselves to, engage students and give them choice, but also what we can do to urge teachers to adopt that philosophy. And if you weren't able to participate, we have a wonderful NERF that you can follow, archive, and it's on the TL Virtual Cafe link. Please go visit that, and you can walk through it. I also wanted to share just really quickly, Joyce mentioned that California School Library Association just held its conference last week, and it was our centennial conference. It was in San Francisco. We were celebrating our organization's founding that happened during the Pan-Pacific exhibition in 1915. We had a really wonderful conference and turnout, and we had an opening keynote by Michelle Ludula and a closing keynote by Shannon Miller, who fortunately didn't get stopped by weather to get there. I invite you to visit, it's bit.ly/CSLA100, which is the conference page, where you can see the link to Twitter highlights, and also for a limited time we're posting all the links to the presenters' slides and so on. So,
and we will definitely put those links up on the wiki. All right, so now upcoming news that you need to add to your calendar. So go ahead and get out your calendar apps or pen and pencil. Don't forget about World Read Aloud Day, which also leads up to Read Across America Day. Read Across America Day is March 2nd. March 8th is World Read Aloud Day, and I'm hoping that you're seeing my screen right now. This is a wonderful blog by Sherry's friend Matthew.
March 4th is World Read Aloud Day, by the way.
World Read Aloud Day, I'm sorry, March 4th. March 2nd is Read Across America. But what I love here is this blogging challenge. Week 1 is already over, but you can always go back and look at that. But encourage your students, your teachers, your administrators to go ahead and join in this blogging challenge as well. Digital Learning Day is coming up on March 13th. This is a really great day to help get your school connected digitally. Did someone have
cross my fingers? Cross my fingers. I'll be down at Digital Learning Day. Fingers crossed. I'll be there, and they're debuting the film that I'm a part of at Digital Learning Day.
Yay,
awesome. So
cool.
Very excited about that.
Well, Tom Murray is the new leader of this Alliance for Excellent Education, has helped put together Digital Learning Day, and he's working hand in hand with the White House and Congress to put together what schools need to have, and so definitely connecting through that. Don't forget our friends in Washington State are putting together their own show for Washington State librarians, and that is coming up as well very soon. So we will put all of that information up on the wiki for you to be able to refer back to and join into that. We have about 2 minutes left, and so we're going to let Christine and Kathy and Ian have a final say about anything you want to tell us about your organization, anything new coming up, any information you'd like for members or potential members to know.
I'll jump in. We have about 153 members, and we think there's about 500 teacher librarians out there. So we're stronger together, and so if you happen to see this and you're not a member, join. That's why.
Right, and if you see this, forward it in an email, forward the link in an email to your friends and colleagues that might not be aware of this great community of teacher librarians. And, you know, it's such a supportive community, and everybody that I've met through the TL organization has been a great support and friend, and all we do is help support each other because we're all in this together across the entire country. Ian, I'm going to let you have the final word. Anything, advice to us, what we can do, your view from a student?
I would just say the biggest thing is that when you give students a voice and ask them to not be compliant but to share, amazing things happen, as we've already seen.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Couldn't end
Standing
it.
ovation for that one.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being here tonight. Stay safe, stay warm, and we will see you next time on TL News. Oh, wait a minute. Alyssa has to end this. I'm trying to just
I
take us out of
actually
here.
do. It's
Catchy,
okay.
nice.
You'll see us next month on TL News Night, and it is New Jersey Library Association. The Jersey girls will be in the house.
Woohoo!
Jersey men and women. Sorry, it's not just Jersey girls. And we'll be discussing the organization, which I'm a part of. We'll be discussing what goes on in New Jersey with librarians. So it should be a fun time.
And even though I was here tonight and part of this, I'm going back and watching this all over again, taking notes and taking everything I learned tonight
I know.
our wonderful guest from Iowa back to my state of Alabama, and definitely implementing a lot of what we've learned here tonight. Thank you to everyone tonight, and stay safe. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.